Getting fit is hard enough for most people. However, it gets even more challenging if you are a professional athlete. The consistently high demands required for excellence is something many people can't keep up with, especially during the off-season when those holiday treats are staring you right in the face. So what do we usually see? Many sports stars blow up like a whale at the start of a new season, no thanks to binge eating, excessive drinking, maybe injuries, or for some other reason. If you need to drop off some body fat during the off-season and want to avoid suffering on the field or court when playing resumes, hang in there. We will find out how intermittent fasting helps during the off-season, and we'll also see how some athletes manage to avoid putting on extra pounds and even improve their game with intermittent fasting. Let's dive in. Nutrition and athletic performance. In one sentence, intermittent fasting is eating during a window period and fasting for the rest of the day. Although there are hundreds of different intermittent fasting programs for athletes, the three most common ones are the 16-8 diet, which requires 16 hours of fasting and an 8-hour eating window, the alternate day fasting, which requires you to fast every other day of the week and only take in 500 calories on fasting days, and the 5-2 diet. This one requires eating whatever you want for 5 days and consuming only 500 calories for 2 consecutive days you would be fasting. Nutrition is one of the most underrated elements when it comes to athletic performance. Those carbs, proteins, and other nutrients help to delay the onset of fatigue, prevent hypoglycemia, and increase muscle protein synthesis, while fluids help with hydration and thermal regulation. If this weren't important, LeBron James wouldn't be spending $1.5 million every year on his body. Although nutrition doesn't replace training, there's a lot of evidence to show that dietary strategies improve performance. But how does this relate to intermittent fasting during the off-season? Let's find out. It is super difficult to reach peak fitness and lose body fat at the same time. Studies have shown a decline in athletic performance when it comes to high-intensity sports such as cycling and sprinting. These sports depend on the carbohydrate availability for peak performance. This is why the off-season is a great time to do intermittent fasting, since our bodies are not as active as they were during the season. This implies less needs for those high calories needed for quick energy and competition. A little digression, you might want to consider cleaning up your carb intake with meals such as oats, beets, squash, and quinoa during the off-season because they are satisfying, less processed, fiber-rich, nutrient-packed, and release energy slowly. This might help you stick to your intermittent fasting program better and prevent you from being a fat leak. Preseason gives you more time to get in shape and closer to your fitness goals. Intermittent fasting allows you to train under fasted conditions. Training under fasted conditions improves the body's capacity to use fat as fuel. This saves muscle glycogen and increases fat oxidation, as seen in a study published online by Cambridge University Press, which examined the effects of aerobic exercise performed in the fasted and fed states on carbohydrate and fat metabolism in adults. Athletes normally use the off-season to lose weight, recover from injuries, and improve techniques. If your sport requires you to be as light and as sharp as possible, intermittent fasting might be worth considering in the off-season. Intermittent fasting and athletic performance. Being an athlete means that you are actively involved in sports training that requires physical strength, speed, or endurance. Research has shown that intermittent fasting in the off-season may have varied effects depending on the type of athlete. For instance, intermittent fasting helps to prepare endurance athletes competing in sports like track and field, cycling, or swimming for the upcoming season by promoting skeletal muscle adaptation. According to recent research, little or no energy intake leads to the production of new mitochondria in a process known as the mitochondrial biogenesis. During training for endurance athletes, their bodies can detect when energy stores are getting depleted. The body then releases signaling factors that stimulate positive adaptations and better performance. Intermittent fasting also helps to decrease insulin resistance in endurance athletes. While athletes often need to consume little meals every couple of hours to help their bodies with a continuous supply of energy all day long, prolonged exposure to insulin as a result of perpetual food intake may put the body under stress and tilt it towards insulin resistance. As you might already know, insulin resistance is a precursor to diabetes. Fasting allows the digestive and endocrine systems to reset and recover, which could ultimately lead to improved athletic performance over time. For athletes in sports that involve resistance training, carbohydrate restriction, which could be by intermittent fasting, may reduce muscle hypertrophy and the ability to complete lengthy training sessions, according to a 2019 study. According to the Journal of Health, Sports, and Rehabilitation Medicine Volume 21, there is a drop in testosterone levels in males and an increased risk of anemia in females due to high hepcidin levels, which inhibit iron absorption. Thus, it is important to consume a meal within 2 hours of physical training. Just to reiterate, a meal, not a large bowl of ice cream. Famous athletes and celebrities who practice intermittent fasting. How many athletes and sports stars have you seen gain a lot of weight during the offseason? Soccer's Gonzalo Higuain, Eden Hazard, Rodon de Lima, Zion Williamson and Luka Doncic in the NBA? Some of these folks suffered fat shaming from fans and saw a decline in their performance at some point, but we're not here to dwell on the negatives. Our discussion would be incomplete without talking about elite level athletes who have specifically talked about the influence of intermittent fasting in their careers. The American golfer Phil Mickelson has won 45 events on the PGA Tour, and this includes 6 major championships, 3 Masters titles, 2 PGA championships, and 1 Open championship. In 2021, he won the PGA championship and became the oldest major championship winner in history at the age of 50. And this was 11 years after he was diagnosed with psoriatic arthritis in 2010. Phil claims that his success stemmed from coffee and intermittent fasting. He drank coffee all day long and did a 36-hour fast a week. He followed the weekly fast with a 3-day fast every few months and quoted, "I drink coffee all day long, and in the last 10 years, I have not been sick a single day. I believe fasting has been a big part of my ability to recover, to get in better shape, to eat less, and not to be held hostage by food. I've always craved food and now I don't. Now I feel better when I eat less and I eat healthy, and I have more energy and better focus and mental clarity." George St. Pierre. St. Pierre is a former professional mixed martial artist and a 3-time UFC welterweight champion who shaped his career with intermittent fasting. St. Pierre used intermittent fasting to manage his ulcerative colitis symptoms. He says his routine includes an 8-hour window for eating daily and a 3-day fast 4 times a year. In an interview last year, he said, "Because my stomach is empty, I feel I have more focus on what I am doing." He continued, "I feel so much better and I'm much leaner. I'm retired now, I'm 39 years old, and physically I look better than when I was 25. Apart from sports stars, celebrities who have used intermittent fasting to stand out in their careers include Hugh Jackman, Terry Crews, Chris Hemsworth, Jimmy Kimmel, and a few others. Although there are not enough studies to cover every little aspect of intermittent fasting, current research and performance results from athletes show that intermittent fasting might be worth trying after all. Intermittent fasting tips for athletes. Here are some tips to remember as you prepare for the upcoming season. It is easy to feel intimidated, but do not get carried away by the metrics. Rather, just ease into it. You are doing just fine with those 16-hour or 24-hour fasts. Jumping right into a 5-day or 7-day fast could be a terrible idea if you're not a seasoned professional. Also, you might want to cut down on snacking when fasting because it ruins the whole idea in the first place. Having 1 bottle of beer too many could affect your program negatively as well. Next, remember to take in sufficient energy, protein, and nutrients needed to support your off-season workout program if you have one. Some athletes might find it difficult to fit in all their daily requirements into their eating window. Pre-fast meals should contain a good amount of healthy fats to delay gastric emptying and help with satiety. Sleep is also a very important thing when it comes to performance, recovery, and hormonal regulation, so you should not have to overlook it for any reason. Refuel after each fast and make sure you are getting enough nutrients and fluids. Research from the journal Sports suggests that athletes considering intermittent fasting should take in sufficient amounts of proteins and carbs. Athletes who are starting out on intermittent fasting should consider working with a sports nutritionist, dietitian, or health professional who could help them identify and meet their total needs, ensure the quality of their pre-fast meals, and recognize any potential risks. And lastly, dehydration during fasting does not do any good, so take in lots of water to maintain your hydration levels. This brings us to the end of the video. Intermittent fasting could be beneficial in helping athletes to stay fit, but it must be done in a way that does not compromise one's health or preparation for the upcoming season. The ideal intermittent fasting schedule is peculiar to each athlete, and sound knowledge is needed to make informed decisions. Remember, intermittent fasting is dynamic and you must factor it into your training load, stress levels, and individual needs when fasting during the off-season. So what are your weight goals for the off-season? How effective have your previous fasting programs been? And can you mention 2 athletes that have gone from fat to fit during the off-season? Let us know your answers in the comment section below. And if you enjoyed today's video, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you can enjoy more videos like these. Until next time.